BST is a procedure for teaching new skills. BST is a useful tool for training adult learners and is a required procedure of supervision. The four initial components of BST are as follows: introduction of the skill, skill demonstration, opportunity to practice, feedback. Skill demonstration, opportunity to practice, and feedback are repeated until mastery is observed. Here a supervisor is introducing the skill of writing a behavioral plan to a pre-certification supervisee.
Okay, James, for today's meeting, I want to provide training for creating a data sheet. During your internship, you've come in contact with many data sheets created by others. As new behavior support plans are developed, I'd like to see you create the necessary documents for implementing those plans, and data sheets will be a big part of that.
I'm up for that.
Great. Now, when we set up this meeting, I asked you to read the Cooper, Heron, and
Got
Dewar
cheese in those hot
textbook,
dogs.
Chapter 4, Measuring Behavior. Were you able to get to that?
Yes, I brought my text and some notes.
Good. Many of the procedures described in that chapter should already be familiar with you. What content from the chapter was less familiar to you?
The supervisor introduced the skill with a textbook reading. Readings from text and journal articles are a nice way to introduce skills because they allow the supervisee to review the material prior to the training. The supervisor continues with the introduction of the skill.
Those are just some examples. Was I clear on the difference in practical applications of duration and latency recording?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The toilet training example really helped me too.
Great. Now, I have a procedural checklist for you of what I expected from the datasheet development. Let's take a moment and go over it together.
The supervisor uses the procedural checklist to introduce the steps in completing the skill. The criteria for creating a data sheet are listed down the left column, and the evaluation markings are made in the columns to the right. There is also a place for notes so that the supervisor may provide descriptive feedback.
You can keep that copy and use it as a guide when you're creating data sheets. I will also be using the procedural checklist to provide feedback on the data sheets you create.
Okay, thank you.
I have some exemplar data sheets here. These data sheets include all the criteria from the procedural checklist. There's one for each type of data collection that we will be covering. Please take a minute and review those now.
When training how to create a written document, consider providing exemplar examples as the skill demonstration.
These are great. I noticed that the momentary time sampling data sheet we use for one of the residents on my caseload is formatted differently than this example. Is it okay if I make formatting changes to these examples?
Yes, that is fine. It is the best to keep the data sheet to one-page length, but otherwise, small changes in the formatting should be fine. Now, I would like to provide you with an opportunity to practice this skill. There is a resident on your caseload, Stephen, who has been displaying new behavior. I want you to create a momentary time sampling data sheet that the staff can use all day. Bring it by my office this afternoon, and we will go over it. How does that sound?
Sounds good. I'll work on it today and bring it by this afternoon.
Hey, James.
Hello. I'm coming by with that momentary time sampling data sheet.
Great. Do you have the procedural checklist from earlier?
Yes, I do.
I'm going to look over the data sheet that you created and see which of the criteria were included and if anything was left out. You can do the same and we can compare.
The supervisor is asking the supervisee to self-assess his data sheet using the procedural checklist.
Did you have an opportunity to mark a rating for all the criteria?
Yes.
Now we will compare our ratings to see where we agree and where we differ. We both agree the instructions for collecting data were omitted.
Yeah, I forgot those.
Otherwise, it looks like we agree that all of the other criteria were included. I would like to continue to give you opportunities to practice creating forms for data collection.
Okay, that was fun, so I don't mind making some more.
When you've created 3 different data collection sheets with 100% of the criteria met on procedural checklist, we will move on to the in vivo generalization probes. For the in vivo generalization probes, You will find your own opportunities to create data sheets for the residents on your caseload. I will check in to look them over as they are created.
Following a few successful in vivo probes, the supervisor will put the skill on maintenance. She will continue to check on the data sheets created by the supervisee in about a month, and then about a month or two after that to determine whether the supervisee's data sheets continue to meet all the criteria of the procedural checklist.